Before we begin, this video is sponsored by Manta Sleep. If you're like me, watching videos about Ratchet & Clank speedruns, then you probably also like to sleep. And because my brain has too much junk thinking about orcs on skip, I struggle to really shut it off and enjoy the depths of sleep, even when I'm not being awoken by the odd light from the window or just napping in the day. Then you should also try Manta Sleep. Manta Sleep is a provider of high quality sleep masks and accessories, a variety of different masks for different sleepers. Because I like music in the background, I got sent the Manta Sound Sleep Mask, which along with their standard adjustable eye cups features built-in earbuds that let you calm that brain with some sweet tunes. Are you thinking too hard about which character should get what materia in Final Fantasy VII? Just play some Baldur's Gate 3 camp theme and I'm off honkin' and snooin'. Click the link below and use code Mugen to receive 10% off on your order site-wide. That's the link below for Manta Sleep, 10% off with code Mugen. Shut off and get some sleep. As a child, I had many toys. I was really lucky to be given hand-me-downs and new ones over the years. So I was never really bored, especially when they represented all the possibilities of fun when they were laid out amongst me. I enjoyed playing with toys so much as a kid that I would make my own inspired by the films and games I was entranced by. Using a ruler, some cardboard, and string, I crafted a cardboard keyblade from Kingdom Hearts that I would run around the house swinging. But I remember one day, I pulled a toy of mine out of the cupboard. It was this big Superman, and his bicep had burst. Poking out like an eyesore was a bunch of stuffing. It was the first time I realized what toys were made of, and that they can break, rip, and indeed, age. There are many different things that Toy Story 2 does well as a film, in both its narrative tone and visual scope. Better lighting, better rendering, better dog, but its powerful core of its protagonist's conflict is introduced 10 minutes into the film when we hear Andy's mum say the most true and hurtful line: "Toys don't last forever." Something both me and the characters found to be a harsh truth. I think it is no controversial claim of mine in saying that the second chapter of the Toy Story saga might be one of the greatest sequels in all of cinema. It's up there in Mugen's spectrum of ultimate sequels with Shrek 2, Kingdom Hearts 2, and the old Assassin's Creed 2: License to Kill the Pope. It does everything a sequel can. It's bolder, more ambitious, and takes what was a novel concept of toys trying to get back to their owner and create a brand new, deeper meaning as to what it means to both own a toy and also be one. It was pretty revolutionary if not for its concept, but also its status as a sequel. See, Disney was already known for making the odd sequel here and there for some of its beloved franchises. Little Mermaid got a sequel, Aladdin got two, and both he and Hercules even got a show. Don't get me started on Kronk's New Groove and The Emperor's New School. Basically, over the years, the big mouse of monopolies made its business in franchising some of its IP, but it always did so really cheap. Majority of these continuations were sent straight to VHS, DVD, or the Disney Channel. Not a single animated sequel ever made it to theaters with the attention or marketing of a brand new story, until Rescuers Down Under, which didn't make a lot of money. But then came Toy Story 2. Initially going to be a video release, the early tests garnered a bigger budget and theatrical release support from Disney, which then involved making the film's completion a 9-month ordeal before the due date and virtually redoing the outline plot of the film in a single weekend. The results: $90 million budget and $500 million at the box office. Toy Story 2 single-handedly showed a sequel in the world of animation was just as fruitful monetarily and emotionally as its live-action cousins. But the reason it was able to do so was by drawing upon the themes and introducing what we identify Toy Story as today. The first Toy Story is more a narrative about friendship and the acceptance of others, especially in the scenario of Woody being Andy's favorite until Buzz's arrival. However, when stolen by Chicken Man and potential Japanese idol lover Al, Woody is confronted with the other toys that no longer have any owners or who were never bought at all. Prospector Stinky Pete is a massive departure from what is the antagonist of the first film being a toy and not a human. The humans of 1 and 2 just have agendas which our protagonists are exposed to either on purpose or by happenstance, whereas Prospector is this unspoken entity that ends up manipulating and enabling the outcome for Jessie, Bullseye, Woody, and himself to be sent to a museum in Tokyo. His value being a toy that was never sold is both the thing that will allow him to finally be loved, but it's also the thing that has cursed him for decades as a toy that was never bought and therefore never played with. Just sitting there mint in this box, unopened, waiting as the world moved on from westerns to sci-fi, echoing the real turn of interest in children of the 50s and 60s who, after seeing people land on the moon, became more interested in the great unknown than the backyard of the open west. The irony of Prospector's goal to be in the museum is that he wishes to be seen and loved forever. Similar to being another toy on a shelf, but instead of one waiting to be owned, is instead admired because of his prestige that he never was. Yet it's only fitting that he meets his spiritual end as a potential collector's item in the Holy Land is that he is then placed into the hands of a child who does not care for prestige or mint condition. The film makes a point in saying how being owned or loved by a child is what makes a toy feel more alive than they could ever be walking around all on their own. Something Toy Story 3 visually implies in its opening as Andy plays with all the toys. Born in the imagination of a child to these toys is something all the more real and genuine than anything else. Toy Story 2 almost does the same effect in the opening, showing the imagination of Rex playing the Buzz Lightyear video game, and how much more intuitive and real it feels in comparison to what video games are. This makes sense to the wonder of a kid's mind, because when I played some of my favorite games at 8 or 9, I was overwhelmed and shocked by the vastness of an open world like Dragon Quest VIII. Yet when I play it now, I see where the invisible walls are, and like Ocarina of Time, I don't see a realized world, but rather a series of zones compared to those who grew up with it. Toys have that effect. You see something like a toy and they evoke so much possibility and joy when you play with them, whether it's a big Pikachu plushie or a small ragged doll. Toy Story 2 creates the expectation and promise that the first gave to both the audience and its characters. When Woody tells Buzz that Andy or any kid will care about their toy not because it's cool, but because they're his. But it's only in 2 when Woody gets his rip that both the audience and characters question if this love triumphs flaws or decay. This is what terrifies Woody even after he is fixed again by the most satisfying TikTok repair montage. With how easily he felt placed on a shelf within seconds of losing his arm's ability to move, how long will his time with Andy last? For a story that has to confront some tough ideas of accepting the end of childhood or how time forgets many things, the movie is unsurprisingly hilarious and fun, simply segmented into the A and B plot. The A plot of Woody learning about who he is as a toy in history and the uncertain future of his time with Andy, opposed to the B plot of Buzz and the rest of the gang attempting to find him via causing vehicular manslaughter and fighting knockoff Darth Vader.
No, Buzz. I am your father.
The B plot is filled with obstacles, but also fleshes out the world outside Andy's room. One we know for sure, but more how dangerous it is to a small toy and how chaotic some of them can be. Such is the dynamic of toys being sentient or aware of their situations. Plus, you can't tell me it wasn't hype when the toys collectively commit Grand Theft Auto of a Pizza Planet car to drive to the airport and mimic a carriage-jumping western chase scene to save Jesse out of a moving plane and swing their way out of it reverse Uncharted 3. Woody, get back on the plane. There are honeys in Japan waiting for you, bro. The characterization of the toys in this film is so much more defined when shown that Woody is someone who never really leaves any toy behind. Something developed in the first movie, but truly established here when he risks everything to save Wheezy, a broken toy left on the shelf from being sold at a yard sale. A trait the other toys adopt when commencing the rescue mission. His commitment to all toys is not just shown in taking physical risk, but also emotional ones, when he decides to stay behind with Jesse and the rest so that they aren't put back into storage for who knows how long, essentially giving up his own happiness to save the others and of course reject the truth that has been circling the plot of the film. The saying in which makes us start to see the life of a toy when Woody is broken. Toys don't last forever. But now fixed is replaced with a new unspoken thought. Childhood doesn't last forever. The most gut-wrenching moments of the story is when Woody understands how he sees Andy is not unlike how many toys have seen their owners, especially Jessie, who through the solemn song of When She Loved Me, shows us what happened to her first owner. A tragic past, but one so common for toys. It is now a caution to Woody and what awaits him, because while he thinks his connection with Andy is different, the outcomes won't be. Similar to the fact that Prospector was never bought because of a change in interest in toys, Jessie was eventually forgotten because Emily, her owner, grew up. And whether we admit it or not, as we age, our interests shift, suddenly or bit by bit. We find new things in our lives to spend our time doing. Our tastes, priorities, and commitments, they all change. Eventually, Emily became an adult, and the same thing will happen with Andy. Something genius I never noticed upon rewatching this film is that how the story frames the decision Woody has to leave and be exposed to the eventual heartbreak of Toy Story 3. As the prospector tells Woody what he already knows, Andy is not going to take Woody with him forever throughout his life. Woody ruminates his choice. Does he stay and possibly be loved by children in a museum, or leave and go back to Andy? How does the film present this decision? Through the vent that leads to his escape, but it's portrayed as a dark, empty, cold hole of nothing. This shot, this moment, is Woody deciding if he wants to accept in a way his own creative death as a toy, to accept that if he goes down that dark abyss, he might be discarded by Andy, and even one day forgotten. Something that will happen, if not to him, then all the other toys who will be left behind, alone. Just like Jessie. It's storytelling magic at its best, when a line from the first film can make its way back into the second, but with an even greater emotional context and ability to change a character's mindset. Under the truck at the gas station in the first film, Woody screams vehemently to our laughter and future memes that Buzz is a toy, a child's plaything, and he's not the real Buzz Lightyear. So what makes the confrontation and impact Woody has on the toys around him feel more real and true in its debate is when Buzz throws that same line back to him.
Woody, you're not a collector's item. You're a child's plaything. You are a toy!
The life of a toy, and from each sequel's admittance, is a very harsh one. Many times Jessie even utters how unfair the situation of Woody still being owned means, and when Prospector rejects Jessie's ability to choose her next life. There is a randomness to how they live, who their owners are, whether or not they're bought, how easily they are discarded, broken, and even sometimes destroyed. The film by the end does admit through Woody that he must not miss Andy growing up, and as he watches his little sister walk, takes solace in the fact that he won't be alone when Andy finally stops playing with them forever. A mutual farewell that does arrive 11 years later in the third film, when they all leave Andy's care together. It's a metaphorical funeral that is made easier by the fact that they're not alone, something every toy's tragic past has in common. They seem to be the ones who struggle with their owner's departure because there's no one with them, or they fail to accept it. So with Toy Story 2 creating this existential question of, is it better to experience all this happiness when what awaits many toys is pain, grief, and sorrow, it answers with a resounding yes, that this time is fleeting but it is ultimately worth it. But the film only ever says what it means for a toy to have an owner. Toy Story 4, in my opinion, gets a lot of hate for ruining a perfectly fine trilogy. But does it really ruin the narrative when it finally says the things that still remain unspoken? 4 asks the question, what does it mean to be a toy, if all you may face is heartbreak and loneliness? The answer arrives when Woody shows Gabby, the temporary antagonist of the film, a literal answer to her own sentiment. Upon seeing a lost child amongst a bustling carnival, Gabby decides to be there for her. Unsure of the decision and whether or not this child will accept her, Woody comforts her. It's the most noble thing a toy can do. Like the toys of these animated moving pictures, we know how it feels to be alone, how crushing it can be, how even if we are surrounded by people, it still feels isolating and empty. Everyone watching this video, if I can be so bold to assume, has grown up with a toy they loved. Maybe a teddy bear, a porcelain doll, an action figure, or like me, characters of the movies I loved. I was gifted Buzz and Woody at a certain age, and I even wrote my names on their souls because that's what Andy did. Everyone around us that we look at some point probably had a favorite toy, but I think besides dispelling our days of boredom, they can be just like your favorite movie or a show, a source of comfort when you need it, a silent companion, a voiceless protagonist when you aren't sure of yourself or who you are. Not unlike the art we love to experience, which can in turn inspire us, some of the small things in our childhood makes us smile when we look back on the visual things we identify it with. whether it's a movie, a game, or a teddy bear. Our toys were companions who, unless we lost them, were always where we last left them, silently waiting for us, offering an ear for quiet troubles or being an outlet for fun. I see this still when I ask those around me in my life who can tell me what their favorite toy was from those days, and why some of them still have them in storage or their closets. I see it in my family's dog, Jasper, as he walks around with his favorite toy,
Mr. Cuddles.
I saw it online with the world as we witnessed a little monkey named Punch walk around with a giant toy as a surrogate mother when he needed something to keep him feeling safe at night, to give him the confidence he needed as he grew up and, for the better, move on without it. Toy Story 2 is a daring sequel in its ambition to push animation to a height it created with its predecessor, committing to and expanding its premise beyond just a simple plot, but even taking a risk of telling a more heart-wrenching tale that through the eyes of plastic characters says so much about the little things that makes us who we are. Toys don't last forever. Neither does the childhood we live through. Our time with anyone or anything we care about has an end date. Even if we try and stitch it back together, it's best to sometimes let things go. But like the joys of playing with those toys of our youth, or the time with people who get us through any struggle, said so well by our sheriff at the end of this fantastic sequel, it'll be fun while it lasts. Have a good one. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and making it to the end of the video. First off, I want to say a massive thank you to all of my patrons who support videos like these. Below in the description is a Discord you can join, but also the aforementioned Patreon where you can support videos like these for $2 Australian. Besides that, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to give it a like and subscribe so it just lets YouTube know you like my videos, or by watching another one of these ones here. Thanks so much again, but that's all from me. My name is Mugen, and I'll see you in the next one.